Welcome back to the new season of this manhwa. This season starts with a skeleton on a staff. Guess it's going to be fire. As Trovian failed to make an appeal within the set period, war was declared. At the 9-Dragon Chamber, one of them says that it looks like the Trovian lot has been preparing for a while, since the warlord of the north has been moving suspiciously. As the flurry of conversation carry on, of them says that one of them is making jokes even though a seat is now empty. A voice says that although the family head is keeping silent now, they cannot delay the discussion of the succession forever. And the old turd says that it is too soon to discuss here. It was the Sky Dragon, as he says that it is the perfect time. If a conflict were to break out among the heirs right before war, it would be disastrous to them. But the old turd, along with a few of his minions, has complains about it. That's when a voice tells them to be quiet, telling them that a proper gathering of all concerned is needed. All that reminds him is a suitable event coming up, and they will decide after witnessing it firsthand. Moving to another place which looks like Lodbrok's, inside our Chad is practicing pure swordsmanship without using any mana. As he does so, a voice echoes his mind about a woman called Yora and how he should kill everything, destroy everyone, and steal whatever he desires. As he cuts the flames with his sword, he halts since he is exhausted, gasping all while flexing his god-tier body. That's when a voice tells him that something is still weighing on him. That is the lingering grudge of the Mad Dragon Emperor. It none other than our dragon waifu. As she gracefully falls to the ground, Theo says that even though a lot of time has passed since his father bestowed him the half-sword, the grudge still tries to interfere with him. It still doesn't bother him much, but the fact that it belongs to the Mad Dragon still bothers him. But thanks to this, he was able to take a glimpse of the Mad Dragon Emperor's realm. As Lodbrok holds a candle, she burns it in front of Theo and says that she can never forget the Mad Emperor since he is the one that stole her heart. Not gonna like this scene, looks so fire. That's why Theo is more conflicted why she entrusted the sword to him. As she continues to aura farm, she tells him not be impatient and rush too much ahead, or he will face something beyond his ability like last time. She then changes the topic and says if his severed arm has healed, and Theo says that because the high priest treated him immediately. As she checks on the wound, Theo wonders if she is worried about him. She says that it seems he has healed, but asks him why he is staring at him. She says he has done enough for today, now he must go now since it seems like someone is looking for him. She also tells him not mess with her nest every time he comes. Hearing this, Theo gets angry and asks what it is the meaning of this. She angrily says that one has to make the mistake and the other one has to clean, so he has no excuses. The scene that now shifts to the Camellia Palace. We see an envelope, and after Theo opens it, he reads that it is an invitation. It is an invitation from the Daffodil Palace, since it's to celebrate Ragnar's 18th birthday. His friend says that it's crazy that a war is on the doorstep, yet they are celebrating a daughter's birthday. Moreover, it's a grand setup. Theo says that because a war is on the doorstep, it must be grand. He cannot understand, so Theo explains that it's because of Trovian's betrayal that has thrown Ragnar's internal balance upheaval. Hearing Theo's explanation, the squad member gets excited and praises Theo for his foresight. With excitement, the squad member asks Theo, so, is he going to attend? Theo says if they are eager to see him, he must attend. The scene shifts to the Daffodil Palace. At the grand banquet hall, murmurs can be heard among the guests. So, he has arrived at last. That's the new heir, young Lord Theo Ragnar. Seeing the banquet hall's environment and hearing the whispers, Theo thinks, as expected, all eyes are on him. Naturally, the birthday celebration is just a pretext. They have come to see the new heir. If he wants to leave a strong impression here, he needs to act decisively. Naven approaches Theo from behind and says he couldn't sit still and caused quite a stir. Addressing Theo as my lord, Naven respectfully says he has been waiting. With a pleasant smile, Theo tells Naven he almost didn't recognize him. Even at the wedding, he didn't shave that beard. Hearing that, Naven gets flustered and says that day was simply too hectic. Seeing Naven and Theo conversing, the banquet guests start murmuring. Isn't that the one who survived the Baku's family purge alone? It seems he has become family head now. Another one says, even if they collapsed once, they are still one of the 6 pillars. And now the head of the Baki's family calls the 6th successor lord. Hearing the murmurs, Naven says all the talk is about them thanks to Theo's timely appearance. Theo says it seems like they have set the mood. Theo tells Naven. Now comes the important part. At that moment someone approaches them saying so he is Theo Ragnar. Hearing that, Theo and Naven both get very surprised. The man says he believes this is their first meeting. He then says he is the fifth successor. Hearing that, Theo thinks as expected he approached sooner than Theo thought. The fifth successor introduces himself as Thorkel Ragnar, commander of the Black Iron Cavalry. Thorkel then extends his hand to Theo. The people at the banquet say at last they meet the former leading heir and the newly risen successor. Thorkel tells Theo no need to be so guarded. He only came to see with his own eyes the one chosen as the sixth heir, and he is glad it's not that childish Axion. Hearing that, Theo thinks, as they say, Thorkel's impression is good, exemplary. But in Ragnar, where only the strong are respected, can they truly welcome a rival with joy? Theo then shakes Thorkel's hand and says, "It's an honor to meet him, commander of the Black Iron Cavalry, Thorkel Ragnar." Theo introduces himself as Theo Ragnar of the White Dragon Squad. Hearing that, Thorkel laughs and releases his oppressive aura and asks Theo. So he draws the line that way. While Thorkel's oppressive aura almost makes Theo kneel, he says, so their youngest cares much for formality. There's no need for such etiquette. With an eerie laugh, he tells Theo to be at ease and to call him brother. Theo thinks this is truly more like a Ragnar. Then Theo also releases his aura, which surprises Thorkel. Theo then regains his footing and gets up, and with a devilish smile Theo tells Thorkel since he says to call him comfortably then Theo shall call him brother. Thus begins the power play between the two brothers and the two successors. The lank siblings come to the banquet. Touching his collar, the brother says it's so uncomfortable he wants to take it off. The sister tells him to just bear with it. He is the reason people keep saying their lank clan is full of savages. From behind them, someone says, "Looks like everyone's here already." Seeing Reincarnator, the siblings get very happy. Remy asks them, how have they all been? One of the lank siblings calls Remy the famous nerd from the West. He heard Reincarnator is as good as the Zenith Dragon. Remy laughs and says, rumors tend to be exaggerated. Looking around, he asks, by the way, did they see Theo? He wanted to ask him about the white armored dragon cavalry. Ragnar appears behind Remy and asks, is he asking about Theo? Hearing her, Remy gets flustered and shocked. He apologizes to Ray, saying, how could he look for someone else in front of the star of the banquet? Ray says, it's fine. She knows what kind of event this is. Ree first notices her wine glass is shaking. Then they notice the confrontation between the two brothers. One of the Len siblings asks, is that Theo? Remy says, to pull something like that in a place like this, who else could it be? The power play continues between the two heirs for some time. Then Thorkel gives up, saying he can't keep up, and he surrenders. While laughing, Theo asks Thorkel, what is he saying? Addressing Thor's brother, Theo tells him he let Theo win. Thorkel says he won't deny it. Too much humility can come off as mockery, but he meant what he said. If he were to go back in time when he was Theo's age, he would have lost to the present Theo. No questions. Theo tells Thorkel he flatters him. Thorkel says to the crowd, seeing his impressive younger brother fills him with joy, which surprises Theo. Thorkel continues, now let's raise our glasses to the new era of Ragnar. He then raises his glasses, saying to Ragnar. All the other guests also toast, raising their glasses and saying to Ragnar. Thorkel tells Theo, quite the success as a debut stage for the new heir candidate. Theo thanks his brother. Theo thinks he was wondering why Thor was praising him. So this is what he was after. Thorkel showed off his strength to solidify his position while publicly acknowledging his rival to win over the crowd. Because of that, the mood Naven helped Theo set has now shifted in Thorkel's favor. Theo decides Thorkel Ragnar, he is not someone to take lightly based on his sociable looks. One of the lank siblings asks Theo, he hasn't forgotten his vow to become Theo's sword, has he? Behind Theo, the banquet's guests murmur, how did he reach that level at such a young age? Someone asks, he is not engaged yet, right? He wants to introduce his daughter to Theo. The scene shifts to the second floor where we see the elder dragon get angry and think he was going to criticize that half-breed's actions and get him thrown out of here. Addressing Thorkel Ragnar as a clueless brat, the elder dragon says he had to butt in. How dare that bastard stir up the family like it's his playground? It's infuriating. Then the elder dragon notices someone outside the banquet hall. He sees it's Evelyn. He gets angry and says, "How dare she come here?" Addressing Evelyn as platoon leader, Eren tells Evelyn she looks amazing. Evelyn can't believe her and asks, "Really?" While excited, Eren asks, has she ever said anything she didn't mean? Eren tells Evelyn she looks absolutely beautiful and adorable right now. Hearing that, Evelyn starts blushing. Then she tries to leave, saying she can't take it. She is going to change into her uniform, but Eren stops her, saying she can't wear the uniform to a banquet. Eren is not letting her go, so she can just come with her. At that moment, someone throws a wine glass in Evelyn's face. He says, "Just dealing with that one bastard is already making his blood boil." Evelyn gets terrified hearing the voice. Evelyn starts shaking. The elder dragon asks Evelyn, "So, why the hell did she come crawling out here?" Eren gets angry hearing that and lashes out, saying, even as one of the 9 dragons, he can't treat Evelyn like this. But Evelyn stops Eren saying she is fine. While gritting her teeth, Evelyn keeps saying she is fine. She requests Eren for her sake not to do anything. Evelyn begs Eren. Seeing Evelyn's condition, Eren thinks she has never seen the leader this terrified before. She wonders just what did the elder dragon do to her. The elder dragon then approaches Evelyn and says he is sure he told her to never show her face to him again. Looking at Evelyn's mechanical arm, the elder dragon asks, "And what is this now?" Then the elder dragon rips out Evelyn's mechanical arm. The elder dragon drops the arm on the ground and asks Evelyn, does she really think strapping on that pathetic toy would bring things back to the way they were? If she is trash, then live like trash, crushed and crawling on the ground. He tells Evelyn if he sees her again, he will tear her apart. Then Evelyn starts leaving while running. The elder dragon laughs saying finally the stench is starting to clear. Eren tells the elder dragon she will make sure to report this to the tribunal. The elder dragon tells Eren she can do as she pleases. While going to the banquet hall, the elder dragon tells Eren she will learn once again what Ragnar's law of the jungle is. While leaving, Evelyn thinks she knew she shouldn't have come here. She tried so hard to overcome it. The scene shifts to the past when Evelyn was little. The elder throws Evelyn on the ground, causing her to bleed. He tells her if she dares call him father with that filthy mouth one more time, he will tear her apart. He tells Evelyn to get out of here right now and not to show her face to him ever again. Evelyn thinks in the end nothing has changed since that day. Seeing Evelyn crying, the demon dragon stops her and in a calm tone asks Evelyn, where is she rushing off to the banquets the other way? Seeing the demon dragon, Evelyn looked at him like the father she never had. Back to the banquet hall. While everyone was chatting happily, suddenly they hear someone screaming. We see the demon dragon breaking the elder dragon's arm. While screaming, the elder dragon asks the demon dragon, does he realize what he has just done? White armored dragon cavalry commander, Julius Ragnar. Then the demon dragon releases the broken arm of the elder dragon. The elder dragon immediately backs off. In anger, the demon dragon tells the elder dragon he told him, didn't he? That he would do the same to him. While screaming in anger, the elder dragon tells the demon dragon he is really turning his back on Ragnar. He orders to restrain the demon dragon right now. The tribunal immediately encircles the demon dragon. Seeing the tribunal hall, the banquet guests get surprised. The tribunal commander says, White armored dragon cavalry commander Julius Ragnar, you are to be detained for injuring the head counselor. They ask for cooperation. In a serious tone, the demon dragon asks, and if he refuses? Hearing that, the tribunal commander gets scared. The demon dragon says, even Ragnar's clan code states that oaths made upon the sword must be honored. For years ago, he swore before those old men, if they ever laid a hand on Evelyn again, he would do the same to them. The demon dragon then releases murderous aura, which scares the tribunal hall. When Theo arrives, he hears that the demon dragon shattered the elder dragon's arm. The tribunal won't be nearly enough for this. Theo thinks this didn't happen in his past life. He wonders what happened. Then he looks at Evelyn and realizes what's happening. Evelyn Narville, she is Wolfgang Ragnar's illegitimate daughter. To Wolfgang, who values pure bloodlines, Evelyn's existence as a bastard was simply a shame he wanted to bury at all costs. He planned to exile her from Ragnar. But the demon dragon saw her potential and recruited her into the white-armored dragon cavalry, ruining Wolfgang's plan. After Evelyn rose to prominence and became vice commander, Wolfgang, fearing his disgrace would be exposed, used the mistake as an excuse to try to kill his own daughter. Evelyn barely survived, but she lost her left arm and couldn't hold the reins anymore, so she retired. She has been managing training ground force since then, so Wolfgang wouldn't have known she would be here. In the end, this whole mess is the result of Theo's actions after regressing to the past, which means it's only right that he set things straight. Seeing the demon dragon releasing murderous intent, the elder dragon tells everyone to look at how the demon dragon mocks the elders who protected Ragnar. He is using the authority of the 9 dragons bestowed by the clan head to intimidate his own kin. If this isn't blatant treason, then what is? The demon dragon gets angry hearing that and calls the elder dragon a son of a bitch. How dare he speak of authority? Then Theo approaches them saying he thinks they are both far too worked up. Because of their conflicts, his sister's banquet meant to be filled with joy is now turning into a night of terror. Hearing Theo, the demon dragon calms down, but the elder dragon gets surprised. Theo continues asking how about they settle it this way. The traditional Ragnar way, a dual trial. The elder dragon gets scared after hearing Theo and says, "This is all nonsense. The demon dragon clearly assaulted him. There's no need for a trial. The demon dragon is obviously at fault." Theo tells the elder dragon he is absolutely right, but they mustn't let this chaos escalate further. Respectfully addressing Lady Daffodil, Theo asks her, wouldn't she agree? Then the master of the Daffodil Palace appears in the banquet hall, releasing her icy aura, which clearly scares the elder dragon. Lady Daffodil says this is her daughter's birthday celebration and asks what the hell do they think they are doing. We are introduced to the ice dragon, Lady of the Daffodil Palace, Melia Ragnar. Addressing the ice dragon as Lady Daffodil, the elder dragon asks can't she see his arm. But the ice dragon stops the elder dragon and says she doesn't want to hear it. She has no interest in petty squabbles, she says, as Theo said, let's reach a quick conclusion. With an angry tone, she says that is the final courtesy her patience can allow right now. Murmurs can be heard about the dual trial. One asks the other, wouldn't the counselors have an unfair advantage? Even if they are retired, they are all above the level of a Dragon Gate swordsman. The other one says, exactly. Only the demon dragon stands a chance. Hearing the murmurs, the elder dragon thinks they have the advantage here. The dual trial rules are simple. 3 versus 3, best of 2 wins. The final duel is fought between the defendant and the plaintiff. But the first 2 battles must be carried out by their chosen representatives who are related. As for the demon dragon's representatives, he has got nothing but a one-armed wretch in that annoying bastard. The elder dragon gets happy, thinking there's no need for it to even reach his turn. He will end this in the first 2 rounds. Then the elder dragon tells the demon dragon if that's his stance. Then the elder dragon accepts. Let the purity of the sword decide what's right and wrong. Thorkel thinks Theo has exceeded his expectations. Knowing the demon dragon's temperament, this situation would have surely spiraled out of control. Had Theo not stepped in, the elder dragon could have used this to politically topple the demon dragon. In such a short time, Theo found a solution that satisfies everyone. This is going to be fun to watch. Outside the Daffodil Palace at the duel ground, the Tribunal Hall commander announces from this moment under the tribunal's supervision, the dual trial shall begin. To ensure fairness, all use of magic is strictly forbidden. Everything that occurs in this duel is protected under Ragnar's law. The Tribunal Hall commander asks, do both parties swear there will be no retaliation or lingering resentment afterward? Both the demon dragon and the elder dragon swear. Then the Tribunal Hall commander asks the first duelists from both sides to step forward. Theo Ragnar steps forward from the demon dragon's side. One of the Lank siblings asks, is Theo really going to be okay? Remy also agrees. Remy says, it doesn't seem like Theo has got a great opponent. The Lank sibling asks, is the opponent of the Elder Dragon's side that strong? Remy says, Elder Dragon's aid, Wild Gust Sword, Vita, he is among the elite, even among high-ranked swordsmen. It's still better than the counselors stepping in. The Elder Dragon tells Vita for this duel not to hold back any lethal moves. Vita asks the Elder Dragon, is he saying Vita should kill Theo Ragnar? He is an heir candidate now. The Elder Dragon tells Vita not to worry as he knows everything that happens during a duel trial is pardoned. At the very least, Vita needs to bring one of Theo's arms. The Demon Dragon wonders, is Theo really going to be okay? A moment before the Demon Dragon apologizes to Theo. His reckless actions dragged Theo into this. But is Theo really sure? Theo says, of course, and he asks them to trust him. Through this duel, Theo will make sure to resolve their long-standing grudge. The first battle of the duel trial commenced. The scene shifted back to the duel ground, where the first round of the trial was about to erupt. The air in the arena grew heavy with anticipation. Across from Theo, Gale, Elder Dragon's aide, watched his opponent take his battle stance, a determined fire burning in Theo's eyes. Gale responded in kind, his blade rising into an offensive guard, his aura bristling with confidence. The tribunal commander's whistle split the silence like a gunshot. At that instant, Theo exploded forward, feet digging into the dirt as he charged headlong with frightening speed. Gale did not retreat, gripping his sword tightly with both hands and surging toward Theo. Steel screamed as their swords collided, sending a shock wave across the arena. The sheer force of their clash sent both men staggering back, boots carving trenches into the ground. But Gale was no ordinary opponent. His form blurred, one moment he was in front of Theo, the next he was gone. With terrifying speed, he reappeared at Theo's flank, blade arcing downward in a massive swing designed to split him apart. Theo barely managed to raise his sword, parrying the strike with his reflexes. Gale's eyes narrowed, his thoughts sharp and cutting. He thought even after this, Theo was not collapsing. Even in simple exchanges, he held his ground, wondering if this was the difference of a successor. The dust from their blows thickened, clouding the arena. In that instant, Gale subtly kicked a small stone across the ground, sending it flicking upward toward Theo's eye. Instinctively, Theo raised his arm to shield his face. The tiniest lapse in his guard exposed. From the haze, Gale lunged like a predator, his eyes glowing red, blade poised for the kill. His thoughts dripped with contempt. The successor still lacked real combat experience. This ends now. His sword sliced through Theo's coat, skimming close to his neck. With mocking confidence, Gale spoke. For the dignity of a successor, I'll make it quick. Consider this a painless send-off. But Theo Ragnar was not a man who bowed at the edge of defeat. At the very last heartbeat, a smirk tugged at his lips. He snapped his head back, narrowly dodging the blade. Then, ducking low, he slid into a crouch, ready to strike the opening left before him. Gale's teeth clenched, wondering if he had left himself open on purpose. But nothing came. Theo remained crouched, motionless, his sword lowered. The absence of an attack startled Gale. Seeing a chance, Gale leapt backward, widening the distance between them. If he had followed through, Gale realized grimly, he would already be dead. Why did he stop? Theo's body answered the question. His hand clutched the side of his head, his posture trembling. From him radiated a dark, ominous energy that sent chills through the arena. Inside Theo's mind, the voices roared again, relentless and poisonous. His eyes glowed with a hellish red. Kill them! Kill them all! The ones who mocked you. The ones who abandoned us. Take everything. Burn it all to ash. Theo gritted his teeth, enduring the storm. His fingers dug into his temple as if to claw the voices out. The presence of the mad dragon emperor pressed against his soul. From the distance, Gale observed with narrowed eyes. He was wide open again. Was he trying that same trick twice? There was a limit to how much you could underestimate me, successor. With a roar, Gale charged, his blade raised high. You think I'll fall for that again? I'll cut through you and turn your counter against you. His sword descended, a brutal arc aimed for Theo's neck. But this time, the steel did not find flesh. With a sudden surge, Theo's blade rose and caught Gale's strike. The clang rang like a war bell. Gale's eyes widened as he halted at him. Theo's demeanor had shifted entirely. His expression had darkened. His aura drenched in bloodlust. His red gleaming eyes glared not at Gale, but inward at the voices that sought to consume him. And in a tone colder than the steel in his grip, he spat at the phantom whisper. That endless chant kill 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 enough. He will handle this fight myself, so he should keep quiet. His words cracked through the arena, more terrifying than any roar. Gale's face twisted in confusion. He cannot understand what Theo is saying. He spat, his voice shaking with both rage and fear. But before another word could leave his mouth, Theo's sword blurred into motion. The swing was so fast it looked like a glitch in reality. In the blink of an eye, Gale's arm and leg were severed clean. Blood sprang across the stone floor. The sheer force detonated in the heart of the arena, triggering a massive explosion. The ground split, shock waves tore outward, and the blast hurled dust, stone, and debris in every direction. Guests shielded their faces. Nobles ducked behind chairs. Robes whipping in the gale force winds unleashed by the clash. Even the ice dragon herself, Nellie Ragnar, had to intervene. She raised her pale hand, aura flaring like a frozen wall as the attack came rushing toward her seat near the front. A stern, unreadable look crossed her face. So this is Theo Ragnar. Truly remarkable. The ground beneath her froze over, the destructive waves splintering against her effortless barrier. Around her, the floor was split clean into two jagged halves. Yet where she stood, untouched ice remained, pristine and unharmed. Her eyes glimmered with something rare. Respect. To release this level of force without even imbuing mana. At his age, this is unheard of. He's already eclipsing standards most heirs never reach. As the dust finally settled, the destruction revealed its price. Gale's broken body lay sprawled on the ground, battered beyond recognition, limbs mangled, his consciousness slipping away. The tribunal commander raised his hand, his voice booming across the silent arena. Dual trial, first round victor, Theo Ragnar. The hall erupted with gasps, shock, and hurried whispers, but Theo wasn't basking in their awe. His eyes still glowed faintly, laced with a sinister aura. And in his mind, he turned over the moment again and again. What was that sensation just now? That didn't feel like the grudges that usually claw at me. This was different. His breath slowed, his eyes dimming back to normal. It was strange. It felt like something else was guiding me, pushing me to strike. He thought back to the moment, recalling the attack that split the arena in two. When I let go and entrusted myself to that sensation, I unleashed power on a completely different level. A quiet chuckle escaped him, bitter and curious at once, entrusting myself to grudges. Dangerous. Very dangerous. But if I could control it, his fist clenched, excitement flashing across his expression. If I could master it, I could become twice as strong as I am now. The silence shattered as the commander's voice rose again. Prepare for the second round. Both fighters, step forward. Theo did not hesitate, his boots rang across the stone as he stepped forward once more, his voice cutting through the air like a declaration of war. The defense declares consecutive battle. The crowd erupted in noise at his boldness. On the other side, the elder dragon ground his teeth so hard the sound could be heard. Theo Ragnar staying in for the second round as well. Arrogant bastard. Fine. If he wants to play reckless, I'll kill him here myself. A new fighter emerged from the elder dragon's side. His presence radiating with an authority born from decades of battle. His voice carried like an oath. I'll be counting on you, young blood of Ragnar. The announcement sent ripples across the crowd. This was no ordinary aid. The man was Paige Garson, the Sword of Mystics, a former Dragon Gate swordmaster. His very name heavy enough to silence lesser men. The lank siblings' jaws dropped. Erica's eyes widened in awe. That sword. He can wield something like that without even channeling mana. Hulkus grinned, eyes lighting up. That blade's a beast. I like it. But Ray's face was grim, his tone tight. This isn't a joke. Paige Garson isn't like the first opponent. Unlike Gale, Garson himself is stepping into the ring. This duel, they don't intend for Theo to just lose. They mean to kill him. Erica waved her hand dismissively, trying to laugh it off. Remy, you worry too much. Sure, Theo might not win this one, but he won't die either. Remy's jaw clenched as his eyes stayed locked on the arena. No, that might not is going to become reality. This isn't just about testing him anymore. This is an execution dressed as a trial. And in the arena, Theo tightened his grip on his blade, staring down his next opponent as the second round loomed. Theo Ragnar and Paige Garson faced one another in the center of the arena like two headlines about to collide. The tribunal commander whistle sliced through the air, marking the official start of the second round. But before the crowd could lean in, Theo lifted a hand as if signaling a pause. With a casual tilt and a look that could have been a meme caption, he said, "I yield." Shock ricocheted across the sand. Paige Garson's composure cracked in an instant. Fury erupted from him like a ruptured dam. "What the hell?" he barked, disbelief raw in his voice. Theo only smiled, the kind of smile that rewrites expectations. How could a mid-ranked examiner like me possibly face an elder and hope to match him? Even without fighting, it's obvious an elder would win. Any newborn could see that? He spoke with the cruel logic of a chess player sacrificing a pawn. Paige Garson ground his teeth, slammed his sword into the ground, and fell into a stunned silence that thundered louder than any shout. The commander announced, steady and official, second round victor, Paige Garson. The crowd swelled with reaction. Some applause, some whispers like notifications popping up across a feed. A hit to the council's face this time, one voice murmured. Lord Theo is playing chess while everyone else brought swords. Even with full strength, they'd struggle, someone else noted. With that arm of his, the third round will be brutal. The elder dragon's face drained of color. A cold realization crawled through him. That bastard of a successor, he thought, stunned. Don't tell me he predicted this far ahead. The plan had folded beautifully against him. The scene shifted to Evelyn Nerevevel. She watched the elder dragon, surprise and a strange relief in her eyes. I've never seen him shaken like that, she thought. Guilt rose in her throat. My lord, she started, voice small. I'm sorry. This is because of me. But Theo stepped forward before she could sink under blame. Don't be sorry, he said firmly. Comrades, help each other. Julius let out a grin and added with fierce warmth. Right, Evelyn. Watch closely. I'll smash them to pieces. Evelyn's lips curved into a fragile smile as memories unreeled behind her eyes. She remembered Julius's voice like a lifeline. Evelyn Nerevevel, come to the White Dragon Cavalry. You're too talented to rot here. Another flash. So what if you can't ride a dragon? Retirement isn't the answer. Come back and make the one who cast you off pay. Theo's voice echoed too, softer but steady. Didn't you say you'd become my sword? Evelyn, I plan to fulfill your long-standing wish. The past braided with the present, and something fierce lit inside her. She gripped her coat as if to hold herself together and thought, both of them, Theo and Julius, care for me. I can't stay trapped in the past. I can't be the one who can't move forward. Her jaw set like a drawn blade. She opened her eyes and fixed them on Theo and Julius. Captain, she called, voice steady and resurgent, removing her coat with emotion that shed the weight of memory. She stepped forward, sword in hand, resolve carved across her face. This villain's role, she declared. I'll sever it with my own hands. I have something to say. The commander's voice boomed, slicing the murmurs into silence. The third and final round will now commence. Fighters, step forward. From the far end of the arena, the elder dragon advanced, a sword in one hand, while the other arm remained heavily bandaged. He muttered under his breath. Fury and wounded pride tangled together. Damn it, we've come to the third round. Because of that successor, we've lost any reputation we had left to salvage. Even if I die, I'll take Julius's arm with me. Then the tribunal's gavel came down again. An unexpected ruling. The court accepts the defense's request. The defense will change their third-round fighter. A hush fell. eyes tracked as Evelyn moved forward into the ring with a quiet storm in her chest. Sword clasped like a promise. The elder dragon barked a harsh laugh that cracked the air. This is absurd. There are limits to reckless bravado. What next? You'll beg for mercy? He spat the words like venom. Evelyn's motion was smooth and precise. She raised her blade and slipped into her battle stance as if she'd been waiting for the moment all her life. She met the elder dragon's gaze without flinching. Steel steady in her hands. Don't be a fool, old man, she said, voice cold with the years she'd shed. The one who should be begging is her father. The elder dragon's face contorted into a richness of rage, teeth clenched, veins shutting at his throat. The elder dragon barked a harsh laugh that cracked the air. This is absurd. There are limits to reckless bravado. What next? You'll beg for mercy? He spat the words like venom. Evelyn's motion was smooth and precise. She raised her blade and slipped into her battle stance as if she'd been waiting for the moment all her life. She met the elder dragon's gaze without flinching, steel steady in her hands. Don't be a fool, old man, she said, voice cold with the years she'd shed. The one who should be begging is you, father. The elder dragon's face contorted into a richness of rage, teeth clenched, veins thudding at his throat. He watched the woman he'd scorned become the force that would undo his cruelty. The crowd erupted in gasps as Evelyn's defiant word echoed across the arena. Father! The revelation spread like fire through dry grass. Wait, did she just say father? One man whispered. Evelyn from the White Dragon Squad, her father's wolf gang. Another voice broke in, disbelief thick in the tone. That can't be. They don't look alike at all. Someone else hissed. Could she be an illegitimate child? I once met Wolfgang's lawful wife, so everything she said was true. Each murmur cut deeper, every whisper a dagger aimed at the elder dragon's pride. His face burned crimson as he glared at Evelyn. You wretch, father, you say. What nonsense. Evelyn's eyes gleamed. Calm, but razor sharp. If I'd known it would please you, I should have called you sooner, she said coldly. Then, stepping forward, her voice rose above the hum of the arena. Since you love old stories, why don't I tell one? You elder dragon beat me half to death when I was just a child, simply because I dared call you father. All because I was born a bastard. Her tone cracked like a whip. Rage and grief fused into every word. You didn't stop there either. You tried to kill me at the White Dragon Squad to bury the shame of having an illegitimate daughter. Silence. Wolfgang roared, fury twisting his features as a member of House Ragnar. What's wrong with that? But before he could continue, the whispers of the crowd drowned him out. She's the real deal, isn't? Someone said. A bastard at that age, and he's the one preaching about pure bloodlines. What a joke! Even among the elder dragon's own followers. Eyes narrowed and jaws tightened. One of them muttered under his breath. You kept firing without restraint, and now look what's happened. Another glared at Wolfgang with silent reproach. I warned you, didn't I? Be careful or this day would come. Why didn't you end it when you had the chance? Wolfgang's rage trembled into desperation. Damn it, he growled through clenched teeth as Evelyn's confession hung heavy in the air. Julius and Theo stood at the edge of the field, watching every heartbeat of the unfolding chaos. You don't have to push yourself, Evelyn, Julius called out, worry coloring his voice. If you just let me, Theo cut in before he could finish, his tone sharp but steady. Instead of worrying, trust her, Captain. Watch Evelyn's resolve. And then the ground thundered. Both Evelyn and the elder dragon moved at once, blurring into motion. Their swords clashed with deafening speed. Every strike louder than the last, sparks flying like a storm of lightning. Wolfgang fought with the fury of a wounded beast, rage feeding his power. Evelyn fought with something deeper, resolve sharpened by years of pain. The fight escalated until Evelyn shifted her stance, and suddenly a faint, swirling energy began to rise from her body. The air itself trembled. Julius's eyes widened as he recognized the pattern of her movements. His voice dropped to a stunned whisper. No way, that's the wind god technique, Dockhart. A gale burst across the arena. The wind howled like a summoned beast, spiraling around Evelyn in a torrent of pressure. The gusts grew stronger with each heartbeat, whipping through the stadium. Wolfgang staggered, his footing slipping under the weight of her unleashed force. High above, the senior members of the Elder Dragon's faction exchanged shocked glances. Wind! That's the sword of Windstorm, one muttered, barely audible over the wind. Another frowned, disbelief etched on his face. How can she possibly wield a lost technique of Windstorm? That skill was erased from Ragnar's archives generations ago. But Evelyn stood unshaken at the center of the tempest, her expression fierce and unrelenting. Her sword gleamed in the flickering light, every motion precise, her will burning brighter than the wind surrounding her. Down among the spectators, the astonishment only grew. She's not just blocking Wolfgang's sword. She's pressing him back, one said, almost laughing in disbelief. Unbelievable, another added. How did she even learn a windstorm technique? She's outmatching one of Ragnar's top swordsmen. Theo, watching from the stands, couldn't help but smile faintly. His thoughts moved in measured calm. No surprise there. His eyes followed the rhythm of their blades. The dual trial forbids mana. Only pure swordsmanship counts. And without magic, the difference is laid bare. He folded his arms, a quiet chuckle escaping him. Wolfgang's entire power rested on his bloodline. Without that crutch, he's nothing but a relic of pride and fear. He never built the foundation of a true swordsman. In the arena, Evelyn's storm surged once more. The wind howling like a god's breath as father and daughter stood locked in a battle that would decide not just victory, but legacy itself. The arena trembled as the elder dragon's disbelief curdled into fury. His face a mask of humiliation as his own daughter forced him backward with each strike. He could not fathom how she was pushing him, how her blade met his with equal ferocity. Snapped from him like live wire. "I'll kill you," he roared, voice raw. "How dare you, you little bastard." Evelyn's jaw tightened, her eyes narrowed into slits of ice and fire. She tracked every twitch, every winded breath. As Wolfgang launched himself into the air above her, sword poised to crush her, he drove his blade downward in a brutal arc meant to finish the duel in a single decisive stroke. Evelyn met it head-on, her steel clanged, sparks blooming like shattered stars. Wolfgang's grin twisted into something cruel and sinister. "You wretch," he hissed. "Think carefully. Do you really believe you can slip from my grasp? I will beat you until you beg for mercy, until your mind snaps and you come to your senses." Enough had been enough. Evelyn's teeth ground together. She answered the elder dragon's swagger, not with pleading, but with defiance. With a collision that sounded like thunder, her sword struck his, and the blow shocked even Wolfgang. She stared into his face, voice steady and sharpened by years of hurt and resolve. "Go on, try me, father." For a heartbeat, Wolfgang's arrogance faltered. How is this even possible, he thought, shock cracking through his pride. Evelyn's eyes burned with a fierce hunger, and her words tumbled out hot and raw. "When I was small, you were my whole world. I feared you for that reason, but I'm done being afraid. Things have changed. I have people who believe in me, people who care and won't abandon me. I am no longer your weak child." Wolfgang staggered under the weight of her proclamation. He was unprepared for the woman born of his cruelty and forged by survival. In that split second of hesitation, Evelyn lunged, her movement pure resolve, full force driving steel through momentum and purpose. Her blade found its mark. The elder dragon was hurled backward as if struck by a battering ram. Blood sprayed and his body crashed onto the ground with a sickening thud. He howled in pain, the sound ripping through the stunned silence of the crowd. And Evelyn, eyes narrowed like a blad's edge, shouted back, "I am no longer your weak child." Wolfgang's sword flew from his hand and skittered across the arena floor, embedding in stone. The crowd inhaled as one, shock and disbelief suspended in the air. Julius and Theo could not hide their grins, pride and vindication flaring across their faces. The elder dragon lay sprawled across the shattered arena floor, clutching the stump of his severed hand as blood pooled beneath him. His breathing came in ragged growls, and his teeth ground together until they threatened to crack. Fury burned in his eyes. Humiliation twisted deeper than the wound itself. With a roar of pure rage, he slammed his remaining hand into the ground, forcing his body upright. "Don't make me laugh," he bellowed, voice shaking the air. "This duel isn't over yet." In an instant, frost spread outward, encasing the arena tiles in glittering white. His hand froze mid-motion, locked in a sheath of translucent ice. Wolfgang's eyes darted downward, and the realization struck before the chill reached his bones. It was her. From the far end of the platform, the ice dragon stepped forward, her presence turning the air brittle and thin. "Truly one of the 9 dragons," she said, her words cutting like shards of frozen glass. "Then stop disgracing yourself and accept the result." The elder dragon's defiance faltered. The commander's voice hammered down like a verdict. "Third dual trial victor, Evelyn Narville." The roar of approval crashed through the stands. The tribunal's judgment followed. The duel's verdict. Evelyn turned on quick, sure feet and walked straight to Julius. Her smile when it came was unguarded and warm. Evelyn Naravevel reporting back. Julius's chest swelled, his voice proud and full. "You did well, Evelyn." She closed her eyes for a heartbeat, cheeks tinged pink, and offered the most innocent smile she had left. "I am not alone," she thought. "It's because of them." Quiet gratitude lifted her words. "It's all thanks to you." Around the ring, members of the Elder Dragon's faction scrambled to salvage dignity. One helper urged the fallen leader, "Are you all right, Elder Council Head?" Another handed him his sword. I've recovered your blade, Elder. A third urged practical care. You're badly injured. Let us get you medical aid first. But fury, deep and rolling, would not be calmed. Wolfgang shoved away those who reached for him, rising with a murderous aura coating his skin. He advanced, eyes blazing, voice with wrath as he called out, every syllable a venomous challenge. Evelyn, Theo, and Julius turned, expecting perhaps a hissing retreat. Instead, the elder dragon charged, single-minded and feral, bloodlust carved into his face. He swung his sword in a broad arc, fury erupting from him. Evelyn Nerevevel, you wretched girl. I'll kill you myself right now. Before the elder dragon's blade could complete its arc, a massive hand clamped down on his wrist and stopped the strike dead in mid-swing. The hand belonged to Julius himself, commander of the white-armored dragon cavalry, who stood between father and daughter like a living barrier. Julius's eyes burned a furious red, and his aura rolled outward like a stone front. He met Wolfgang's glare without flinching, and voice low and loaded with menace, asked, "Do you want me to tear off your remaining arm, too?" Wolfgang's jaw tightened. He knew with the battered limb and the wound open earlier, he was no match for Julius now. With a rasp of resentment, he slacked his grip on the sword. "Why is it always you getting in the way?" he spat before the confrontation could escalate further. A messenger dashed into the arena, chest heaving, voice raw with alarm. "Invasion! The Trovan family, Trovan, has launched their attack. Everyone, return to your posts at once." The name hit like ice. Julius made a frustrated sound and pivoted, leaving the elder dragon grasping at air. In a voice that broke no argument, he barked, "Theo, Evelyn, this is wartime. Return to the White Dragon squad immediately." Both of them answered in unison, crisp and unwavering. "Yes, sir." Wolfgang's face contorted into a snarl. "Those bastards, how dare they look down on me?" he roared as he lunged back into fury. "Stop," I said. "Stop this instant. The duel isn't over. Stand where you are." But before he could summon another command, the ice dragon moved. Nellie Ragnar Tun stepped forward from the shadows, her presence chilling the air. Her eyes flashed like fractured glaciers as she addressed Wolfgang with a cold, cutting tone. "Lord Wolfgang." At her word, hundreds of slender blades of ice materialized in the air around the elder dragon. Her voice was flat and unforgiving. "I'll say this just once. Do not bring shame upon the 9 dragons again." Wolfgang's hesitation was thin and brittle. "Lady Ice Dragon, are you ignoring me?" Ignoring the entire Elder Council, he demanded, disbelief thick in his words. Her answer came clipped and cool. "Who can say? I doubt his view differs much from mine." To his shock, the members of the Elder Council turned and walked away. One elder's tone sliced the air as he passed. "Even if the Elder Council's honor has fallen, we cannot be represented by one who defies defeat and brandishes his sword after losing." The words shattered Wolfgang's swagger. Pride crumpling, he dropped to one knee and admitted defeat. Publicly humiliated beneath the very banner he once commanded, Julius watched the old man's collapse with a small, grim satisfaction. As he and the others mounted their wyverns and took to the sky toward the White Dragon squad, his voice carried back across the arena. "It's finally over. A pitiful spectacle. A greedy old man reduced to a farce." The scene snapped away to the Trovan headquarters where Ed Trovan sat on a warlike throne, his face carved into a mask of cold intent. One of his generals reported imprecise and expectant, "With this move, we have taken the central plateau. Castle Harmon will fall soon as well." Ed's gaze sharpened. "And Ragnar's forces?" he asked, measuring the threat like a chess master. The general returned the report without flinching. "Their lord's cavalry and the private troops of the 6 Pillars appear to be converging on the central plateau." A manic chuckle bubbled up from Ed as he placed his hand to his brow and laughed. Not from joy, but from the thrill of a plan unfolding. "Foolish Ragnars," he breathed, the words cold as a blade. "They move exactly as expected." His fingers tightened. "I'll make them realize this war is only one piece of a much larger design. While they focus everything on the central plateau, our feast will be served right here." The scene shifted to one of the castles belonging to the 6 noble houses deep within Baku's family territory. Weary soldiers stood on alert, waiting to intercept an incoming enemy assault. One soldier muttered to another, "You know that new lord who just took over? Ever since he arrived, all he's done is lock himself in and drink himself stupid. In times like these, does he even remember he's supposed to be the head of this house?" His companion scoffed, bitterness lacing his tone. "Head of the house, this place is buried in debt. Everyone who could leave already did. Even knights and vassals who served the Bacchus name for generations have walked away. What's left for him to lead? Honestly, maybe drinking's the smartest thing he's done." A third soldier at the table nodded with a laugh. "Yeah, fair point. But didn't Ragnar send reinforcements or something?" The first soldier's grin twisted into disgust. "Reinforcements? Don't make me laugh. You mean those freeloading bastards? He leaned closer, voice lowering. Sybil and Eden from the Ragnar support squad. Reinforcements. My ass. All they've done is drink and lay around. They claim to handle the night patrols, but every time I check, they're passed out drunk. Support squad? More like a setup. Ragnar's just trying to push us out. The room filled with cynical laughter, the kind that sounded more defeated than amused. The scene shifted again, this time under the cloak of night. In the dark woods beyond the castle walls, the same soldier from before knelt before a hooded figure cloaked in shadows. The man bowed his head deeply and reported, "My lord, morale inside is already rock bottom. The garrison's barely functioning. This operation is as good as complete." The hooded man's lips curled into a cold smirk. He crossed his arms and turned towards his gathered men, his voice smooth and mocking. "Is that so?" he said. Then louder, he addressed the soldiers behind him, his grin turning feral. "You heard him. The place is finished. Let's end this quickly and head home before sunrise." The scene cut sharply back to the back castle. Inside, Sybil Dre was sprawled across a table, fast asleep, a half-empty bottle dangling from his hand and his mouth open mid-snore. Out of the shadows, an assassin cloaked in black emerged. His dagger gleamed in the candlelight as he approached the sleeping man, a wicked smile curling across his face. "Must be nice," he whispered. "The guards passed out drunk on duty. Makes my job easy," he said, raising his blade high, eyes glinting. "As for the rest of the booze, finish it in the afterlife," he said, swinging down. The scene snapped away, cutting to the white-armored dragon headquarters, where Theo and Julius stood over a strategy table littered with maps and markers. Julius slammed his hand down hard enough to shake the pieces. "You want to invoke independent operation rights as a mid-tier swordsman?" His face darkened, every word radiating authority. "No, during wartime, combat operations take precedence. You're not getting special treatment." Theo didn't back down. He reached into his coat, pulled out a sealed document, and slid it across the table. "This is directly related to the war, Captain." "Please read it first," he said. Julius unfolded the paper and scanned the writing. The color drained from his face. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice dropping. Theo moved to the map, picking up several carved battle pieces and rearranging them swiftly across the board. "Yes, Trovin's main assault points, Harmon Castle and the Central Plateau, are only diversions," he said. "Their real targets are the floating archipelago and the Bacchus territory." Julius's eyes narrowed, thoughts racing. Could be true, he realized it fits too well. Theo continued, voice steady and analytical. "Back during the Ceres Guild hostage incident, the Black Skull Group's movements lined up perfectly with Trovin's. It's obvious now they were working together." His eyes sharpened, and the Black Skull's predecessor was the Archipelago Shipping Federation, the same organization through which all Imperial funds flowed. Julius's teeth clenched as he pieced it together. That would explain how Trovin's funding grew so quickly. Theo nodded firmly. With the Archipelago's trade routes under their control, they've secured enough capital to fuel a prolonged war. And if they gain full control of the island's position, they'll have a permanent strategic edge. His voice grew colder, which is why our top priority must be reinforcing Bacchus territory before it collapses. But Trovin's built a massive front at Harmon Castle and the Central Plateau. It's an all-out offensive designed to keep us blind. The table went silent. Theo stood before the large table where the map of the continent stretched wide. Red and blue markers scattered across it like the scars of an unending conflict. His expression was firm as he leaned forward, his eyes scanning the front lines. With a steady voice, he spoke. "Ragnar has already deployed its main forces to the Central Plateau and Harmon Castle to counter the Trovin advance. We have no troops left to spare. I understand the necessity of holding those strategic points, but that's exactly why I've requested independent operational command so I can reinforce the Bacchus territory myself and investigate the archipelago that's been funding Trovin's movements." He raised his head then, confidence radiating from his sharp gaze as he continued. "All of this is so that I can bring this entire operation to an end once and for all." Julius leaned back, crossing his arms as realization dawned upon him. For a brief moment, his stern demeanor faded, replaced by a faint grin of pride. "So that's what you've been planning from the start," he thought to himself. He let out a quiet chuckle and said, "You foresaw all this from the very beginning, didn't you?" His voice carried the weight of both respect and approval as he added, "Fine, then I permit it. It's a war-related move, so no one can object. But remember one thing, Theo, do not overextend no matter what happens." Theo straightened his posture and gave a sharp nod. Yes, Captain, I'll remember. As Theo turned to leave, Julius's gaze lingered on the document lying on the table. The intelligence Theo had provided was of exceptional quality, far beyond what most officers could obtain. He quietly thought to himself, these aren't just reports, they're top-graded intelligence, movement logs, encrypted messages, even maritime funding trails. The fact that he came to me instead of the Black Dragon who oversees intelligence means he's planning to take direct action. In that case, my permission is just a formality. Julius stroked his beard and let out a small amused laugh. His expression softened with pride as he muttered, I'm certain that boy has already made every preparation, far from the command room, deep within Baka's family territory. Just as the blade swung down, the bottle in Sybil's hand came flying forward with shocking speed. It struck the assassin square in the face, shattering into pieces as glass and sticky liquid splattered across the room. The assassin stumbled back in disbelief, clutching his face. Sybil's chair creaked as he leaned forward, grinning widely. You really fell for that, huh? The assassin wiped his face and looked down at his clothes, then froze in confusion. The smell was sweet, not bitter. This is orange juice, he exclaimed. Sybil laughed loudly, brushing off his coat with mock elegance. Correct. I don't usually drink alcohol, but it was easy enough to make you believe I did. His expression darkened slightly, his grin twisting into something sharp. Unfortunately for you, I'm wide awake now. Before the assassin could react, Sybil drew his blade and lunged forward. The strike was clean, merciless. The dagger slipped from the man's hand as his body collapsed to the ground. Around them, chaos erupted as more assassins burst through the shadows, but the Ragnar soldiers were ready. Blades clashed in the dim corridors, and within minutes, every intruder lay dead or dying. One of the soldiers stepped forward, breathing heavily. Squad leader, we've taken care of all those who came as the vanguard. The squad leader wiped blood from his cheek and nodded firmly. Good. Then light the beacon. Let the flames announce that Bacchus still stands. He turned to his men with eyes burning in defiance. Our swords will cut through the Trovan forces. I never thought I'd see this day again since the blooming ceremony. Another soldier chuckled, lighting a torch. We haven't been idle either. It's about time we reminded them who we are. But as the man leaned forward to ignite the beacon fire, a faint sound behind them caught Sybil's attention. A shuffle of feet, too quick and too close. Before he could turn, a wounded assassin, face bloodied but eyes blazing, rose from the ground with a knife clutched tightly in his hand. He lunged forward, blade aimed straight for Sybil's back. Sybil spun around, eyes widening, realizing too late that they had missed one. The other soldiers shouted in alarm, but before the assassin could land his strike, a blur of motion cut across their vision. A single swing of a sword split the air and the assassin's head flew from his shoulders, landing several feet away with a dull thud. Naven Bacchus stood behind him, his sword still humming from the strike. His expression was calm but firm as he turned towards Sybil and said coldly, seriously, be more careful. If any of you get injured, how he is supposed to face our lord? Sybil quickly straightened his posture, nodding like a guilty schoolboy. You're right, my lord, I'll correct myself immediately. Naven blinked for a moment, his stern expression breaking into a faint smile. Relax. I'm just joking. Make yourself comfortable. Really? Sybil's expression darkened dramatically as he folded his arms. If you want to be comfortable, maybe our lord should handle the fire himself. Then turning to his comrades, he gestured with mock seriousness. Tend the beacon for me, boys. I have deep matters to discuss with my conscience. Naven stared blankly for a moment before Sybil burst into laughter. Just kidding. I'll handle it myself. Their banter was light, but behind it, the air carried the tension of what was coming. The torch finally met the oil-soaked cloth, and the beacon roared to life, flames crackling high into the night sky. Its glow spread across the hilltops, and soon, one by one, the other vanguard beacons began to ignite. The Bacchus frontier blazed like a line of fire cutting through the darkness. Archers rushed to their stations atop the walls and the defenders drew their bows. Standing on the edge of the battlement, Naven placed his boot on the parapet and peered down at the advancing troops. A faint smile curved across his face as the firelight glinted in his eyes. So this is what our lord foreshadowing all along, he murmured. Just how far ahead did he see everything? Down below, the Trovan forces began their assault. Unaware of the trap they had walked into, Sybil raised his voice, his tone shifting from playful to commanding as he shouted, Trovan vermin have breached the walls. Defend Baki's castle. Eliminate the raiders. At his command, the archers loosed their arrows in a synchronized volley. The sky turned black as thousands of shafts rained down upon the enemy. The screams of Trovan soldiers echoed across the battlefield as they fell one after another, caught completely off guard. Above the chaos, high in the night sky, Theo watched the scene unfold from atop his guardian. The moonlight reflected off his armor as the wind whipped around him. From that height, the burning beacons below looked like constellations of war. A confident grin spread across his face as he pulled on Umbra's reins. "So, the battle's already begun," he said quietly. "Looks like we arrived right on time." His eyes gleamed with excitement as he looked down at the battlefield and muttered, "It's been a while since I've seen those faces in action." As the morning light bathed the Bacchus castle in its glow, a gruesome scene unfolded. The Trovan forces lay scattered across the ground, their bodies lifeless, weapons fallen from their hands. Sybil's voice echoed through the stone walls, his words echoing, as Lord Theo commanded, "The mission to defend the back territory has been completed." Theo stood calmly amidst the aftermath, casually telling Sybil, "I don't have to shout like that." Approaching Sybil, Theo praised him for his efforts, acknowledging that this time, it wasn't just an order followed or a duty fulfilled. It was recognition from the man he respected most. Unable to contain his emotions, Sybil's shoulders trembled slightly, believing that Theo had finally acknowledged him. Naven stepped forward, surprised to see Theo in person. Theo, with his usual composed tone, explained that he had come by just in case. However, seeing it for himself, Naven realized that he didn't need Theo's help after all. Naven smiled faintly, acknowledging the contributions of the group of men who stood proudly, their armor still dusted with battle dirt. He asked Theo where he had found such remarkable individuals. Theo simply replied that they were the ones he had trained with as an apprentice inspector. They had always wanted to serve him and had joined the Camellia Palace Guard. Theo expressed his approval, stating that it seemed they had earned his respect. Naven nodded slowly, admitting that he had initially expected little from them. They were only intermediate inspectors with limited experience. However, after a few days of working together, despite their still rough skills, Naven had come to trust them. With a satisfying smile, Theo felt a sense of pride, his eyes softening as the tension of command began to fade into something warmer. Theo reveals that Naven has a request for him. Now that the vassals and knights have left, the position for the Bacchus family's knight order remains vacant. Theo suggests that Naven train his friends to become the Bacchus Knight Order. Hearing the name, Naven pauses, looking distant and almost nostalgic. It's been a long time since he's felt this kind of anticipation. Memories of his youth, the days of glory and discipline, briefly returned to his mind. Seeing Naven's expression, Theo remains silent, understanding that some memories are better left unspoken. He tells Naven he'll count on him and turns to leave. Seeing Theo leave so early, Naven asks why. Theo simply replies that he's seen what he came to see and that this was just a stop on the way. He has another purpose. Naven tilts his head and asks what that purpose is. With a scheming smile, Theo says it's an investigation of the floating archipelago. Naven gets flustered hearing Theo say that. Addressing him as my lord, Naven says one would think he'd be used to it by now, but Theo's boldness still catches him off guard. Naven asks Theo if that isn't the place where they are notoriously hostile to outsiders, where it's hard to even get in. With a small knowing smile, Theo says he's got his ways. The scene shifts to the port city of Dion. The sound of seagulls echoes across the harbor, mixed with the creaking of ships and the chatter of sailors. In a certain bar filled with smoke and noise, Theo enters quietly, blending in with the crowd. While entering, Theo accidentally bumps into someone. The big guy he bumps into glares down at him and calls him Shorty, asking if he can't open his damn eyes when he walks. Theo, mocking and calm, says it's his bad. He guesses he didn't see him down there. While holding a beer mug, Theo adds that he'll make the big guy lower himself to his level. The big guy grits his teeth in anger, his hand tightening around his drink. The crowd senses the tension rising, and slowly, a bar fight begins. People start cheering them on, some banging their mugs on the tables and others shouting for more drinks, turning the brawl into entertainment. The barmaid runs around frantically, unable to keep up with all the orders. In a certain room inside the bar, far from the chaos, Aoi speaks coldly. Starting from the 15th, the floating archipelago will regularly offer gunpowder and steel as tribute to Trovan. The costs will be considered the rental fee for the dragon sword. After hearing the report, Someone slams their fist on the desk in anger. We are introduced to the Spinola family's next head, Antonio Spinola, whose face twists in rage. A request, my ass, he growls. That's a bloody threat. Antonia turns to the girl standing beside him and says, and what? A rental fee? The Trovans steal it and then say they'll lend it back for money. What a load of rubbish, the girl replies softly. Still, they've got no choice, do they? Antonio clenches his jaw. Without the dragon sword, the floating archipelago will sink. He frowns deeply. Damn it, if we hadn't lost the dragon sword, we wouldn't be at Trovan's mercy. His voice lowers, almost breaking. Is there truly no hope left for our archipelago? At that moment, Antonia hears fighting sounds coming from outside. He grits his teeth again, frustration rising. Kicking the door open, he shouts, bastards. My head's already about to explode, and now this? Why the hell are you kicking off again? Everyone in the bar freezes when they hear Antonio's voice. The room goes silent. He points around, furious. When did I say you couldn't drink? Just drink quietly for God's sake. Theo standing nearby smiles faintly. So, he finally decided to show himself. Antonio Spinola, next head of the Spinola family. Theo enters the room with Antonio while two guards stand at attention outside the door. Antonio looks at him suspiciously and says, so, what you're saying is you want to go to the floating archipelago, and you want me to take you aboard my ship as a combatant? Theo nods. That's right. I heard sea monsters have been appearing more often on that route lately. And as for my skill, Theo smirks slightly. That little scene back there proved it well enough, didn't it? You're short on manpower anyway. It's a win-win, isn't it? Antonio scratches his chin thoughtfully and tells Theo, well, you're not wrong. We were looking for crew, but you're not getting on my ship. He narrows his eyes for a mercenary looking for work. Your gear's too clean. No signs of wear at all. That scuffle you caused, it just happened to be right where I was. And you just conveniently know I've got a ship bound for the archipelago. If you were me, would you let you aboard? After hearing Antonio, Theo chuckles lightly. I'd have been disappointed if you hadn't seen through it, he admits. Good. Let's get straight into it, then. Placing a badge on the desk, Theo says, the armed resistance fighting for the liberation of the floating archipelago, the Black Skull's leader, Antonius Spinola. How about we make a deal? Hearing Theo's words, Antonio's eyes widen. He goes stiff, nervous, and shocked. How do you know that I'm the Black Skull? Theo smiles faintly. Come now, that's not the important part, is it? It's not about how I know, it's about what I know. For instance, that dragon sword you're so desperate for. After Theo says those words, Antonio's eyes widen even more. In anger, he kicks his chair back and yells, bastard. So, you're a dog of Trovan after all. Theo remains calm. Calm down. The basis of any deal is composure, isn't it? Hearing the noise, one of the guards peeks in and asks, Sir Antonio, is everything all right? Antonio gestures for the guard to go back. He faces Theo again, even thinking calmly, it's nonsense. If you're not with Trovan, there's no reason you'd mention the dragon sword. Theo leans forward slightly. What if I told you I have the dragon sword? Antonio picks up his chair, slowly, scoffing. That's ridiculous. It's a fact that Trovan stole it, and now you're claiming you have it. Absurd. Theo tilts his head. Why is that absurd? Like you, the Trovans probably only said they had it, too. Hearing that, Antonio freezes. His mind races. Come to think of it, the Trovans have never shown the real thing. Could it be possible that their judgment has grown so clouded even with the archipelago's fate at stake? Theo says, you've got nothing to lose, right? Why not just hear me out? Antonio exhales slowly. Fine, I'll hear you out. Theo begins, his tone calm but serious. The legend and mystery of the floating archipelago. It all begins with the tale of the hero Kriemhild. Antonio frowns slightly, flustered. Looks like you already know the story. Theo nods. Kriemhild drove his sword into the head of the sea dragon that once ravaged the ocean, sealing it beneath the waves. The hero of legend, Kriemhild. That fairy tale, Theo continues, is real. The floating archipelago is said to float above the sea thanks to mysterious currents. But that's not true. The dragon Kriemhild sealed lies deep under the sea, and the immense mana it releases creates an updraft that holds the islands aloft. The dragon sword is the device that maintains that seal, a medium that keeps the mana flow stable. He pauses briefly before continuing. Ever since Trovan stole the dragon sword, the mana currents have grown unstable. If it isn't returned soon, the archipelago will sink back into the sea. Antonio leans forward, his voice filled with urgency. You're not joking. The lives of our people are at stake. Theo thinks for a moment, his expression thoughtful. Returning the sword isn't a real solution. Trovan could steal it again at any time, and more importantly, it would mean giving it up forever, the very thing he's fought for. Antonio looks at him seriously, his eyes filled with determination. Let's continue with the deal. Then what do you want? Theo shakes his head, his voice calm but resolute. I don't need money. I've already prepared for this, a way to keep the sword and save the archipelago. With a faint scheming smile, he continues, all you have to do is take me to the floating archipelago. Hearing that, Antonio grits his teeth in frustration. But deep down, he knows he doesn't have much choice.
The scene shifted to the sea, stretched out like a living map. A wind-hipped sailing ship cleaved through the waves, its bow rising and falling as it bore Antonio and Theo towards a horizon crowded with islands. Theo stood at the rail, the wind tangling his hair. When he spotted the sight ahead, his grin widened until it was almost a laugh. The floating archipelago hung over the ocean like a stitched cluster of towns and docks. Big ships and small coasting cutters traded in and around its harbor, a hive of sails and smoke. From this distance, it looked alive with barter and bustle, flags snapping as ships jockeyed for space. Once a storied trade alliance with customs so distinct that the emperor himself had recognized its autonomy, the archipelago now showed the scars of occupation. Under Trovan control since the Great War, it had been stripped and repurposed into a manufacturing center for military supplies. Around the end of the Great War, many of the satellite isles had already slipped beneath the waves, wiped off the maps forever. He kept his eyes on the islands, letting a thought settle like a blade in his mind. For the sake of both Ragnar and the archipelago, Trovan traces must be erased. Before he could let the plan unspool further, Antonio's voice cut across the deck, taut with anxiety. You weren't joking, right? You promised to save the islands. Theo turned, meeting the man's tension with a slow, steady smile. Antonio pressed on, urgency sharpening every word. What you said before about preventing them from sinking by moving the islands. Theo's smile didn't waver. Don't worry, it's possible, he said. The confidence in his tone was a tangible thing. The sea dragon beneath the archipelago on the ocean floor is a primordial guardian. Later, Theo took the dragon's sword from its sheath and placed it reverently between the mana beasts he had summoned. The drake leaned forward, its scales glinting in the light. How does this sword look to you? Theo asked, his voice low as sparks began to lick from the blade's edge. The drake was blunt. Oh, it's a relic, he said, his voice like grinding stone. The sandworm chimed, repetitive and urgent. Primordial dragon's relic. As Theo reached out, his fingers nearly brushing the metal, the sword spat tiny arcs of energy. He frowned. As I thought, he murmured to himself, then louder. But why is it incompatible with Ragnar? The fairy dragon tilted closer, her speech like wind through leaves. Hard to say, she answered. It seems the guardian tied to the dragon slayer's sword abandoned its duty, ran from the relic itself. Her words landed like a cold drop. Theo's eyes widened. Ran from it? What do you mean? The griffin shifted uneasily, a bead of sweat like rain on feather. The fairy dragon met the griffin's glance and explained. It had happened before. Back when a guardian forgot what it was meant to do. The griffin was the first to break the chain. Theo watched the griffin's expression tighten. Ran from the relic. Can one do that? Pay a price and walk away? He asked. The griffin's reply was blunt and incredulous. No, that's madness. Only that one could escape and still survive. It's not simple, he exhaled, the sound like wind through a canyon. If you think the mana leaking from him is enough to lift an entire archipelago, you're not wrong. His tone carried both warning and respect. Theo's mind moved faster than his words. Wait, so if I overpower him, could I move the islands myself? He asked, testing the edge of possibility. The Drake answered with the gravity of a scholar. In theory, yes, but you'd have to seal him again first. Can you handle that? The sound of his scale ruffle was like an old clock striking a long hour. Before Theo could give a full answer, the fairy dragon spoke what the others feared to voice aloud. Even diminished, the guardian remained among the strongest. The griffin cocked its head, a cynical flutter at the corner of its beak. Can you even reach the ocean floor? It challenged, more than asked. Theo's grin returned, this time a flash of cocky bravado. He waved his hand and made a small, confident shrug. Of course, Mock said, amused. I have a plan. Don't worry about how I'll get down there or how I'll seal him. I've already thought of that. The scene shifted back to the present at the deck. Antonio's tense voice cut through the stillness. So, that statue really has the power to save the islands. Power that even the natives don't know about. Theo glanced towards him, his expression calm but his tone edged with firmness. You're still suspicious, he said. Even after I showed you the Dragon Slayer sword. Antonio gritted his teeth and looked down, guilt and worry flickering across his face. I'm not suspicious, he said quietly, just worried. My homeland's fate is at stake. I hope you understand that. Theo's eyes softened slightly. He exhaled, then smiled with steady confidence. Yeah, I get it. Just get me there first, he said, his voice sure as steel. I'll make sure to save it. A faint light shimmered before Theo's eyes. A system notification flickered to life like a whisper from the world itself. Subquest, Dragon Slayer's Sword. Objective, return the sword to its original resting place. Locate the site, defeat the Guardian, and earn the right to wield it. As night deepened, wrapping the floating archipelago in a calm, eerie quiet, beneath this calm surface, inside a dimly lit cellar, Antonio had gathered his trusted men. Soldiers ready to stake their lives for their home. Antonio pointed towards Theo as his men stood at attention. Our mission is simple, he began, his voice low but commanding. Guide this man to the Colossus of Cream Hill. Once he's there, he'll handle the rest. The soldiers exchanged tense glances as Antonio continued. You all know the Trovan have bought off the main clan's head. Security around the Colossus is tight, but use the usual route, the stealth passage. It'll get you close enough. Every soldier straightened, their eyes burning with resolve. Together, their voices echoed through the cellar. Yes, sir, they replied. Long live the floating archipelago. Antonio turned to Theo. Then I'll leave it to you. Theo nodded once, his eyes sharp and unreadable. Understood. Among the gathered men, one soldier lingered behind, his lips curling into a faint, sly smile. His eyes glinted with something that wasn't loyalty. The scene shifted to the heart of the archipelago. The colossal statue of Cream Hill towered over the landscape, a dragon-shaped monument carved into the cliffside itself. High walls and watchtowers gleamed under the moonlight, guarded by soldiers gripping their spears, unaware of the shadows creeping below them. Deep beneath the surface, Theo and his group slipped silently through a hidden passage, an ancient stairway damp with sea mist. Theo's eyes narrowed as he ran his hand along the stone walls. So, they really had a secret path down here, he murmured. The tunnel opened to a wide cavern where the roar of a nearby waterfall masked their movements. One of Antonio's men whispered, thanks to the waterfall sound, there's little chance of being noticed. But still, please be careful. Theo gave a small nod, his expression steady. Without hesitation, he opened his inventory and pulled out the Dragon Slayer's sword. Its edge shimmered faintly, resonating with an unseen power. He turned towards the soldiers, his voice calm yet commanding. Thank you for your hard work, he said. From here on, I will go alone. The men stared in awe at the sword's glow. One of them whispered, eyes wide. The real Dragon Slayer's sword, he breathed. Incredible. Theo's gaze shifted upward to the towering statue of Cream Hill. The blade in his hand pulsed with energy and he could feel its reaction growing stronger. The closer we get, the more intense it becomes, he thought. His eyes traced the length of the statue up to the dragon's massive head, the source. He took a breath, then crouched and with one powerful leap, launched himself upward. His boots hit stone. Below, one of the soldiers watched Theo's ascent, off-filling his voice. He really has the Dragon Slayer sword, he thought. Finally, there is hope for our archipelago. But his relief lasted only a heartbeat. From the darkness behind him, a faint movement stirred. Before the soldier could react, a hand clamped over his mouth and a dagger slid cleanly across his throat. We can take back the stolen Dragon Slayer's sword, Bamong. Above, high at the top of the colossal statue of Cream Hill, Theo reached the dragon's crown. The night wind howled around him, carrying the salty scent of the sea and the tension of what was to come. He gazed up at the towering figure, the sculpted warrior holding an invisible blade, his eyes narrowed. It reacted strongest here, he thought, feeling the vibration in his arm where he gripped the sword. The problem was, what came next? Without hesitation, Theo drove ball-on deep into the statue's head. The blade slid in with a thunderous hum, the stone trembling beneath his feet. Blue sparks erupted from the point of contact, lashing his arm as pain tore across his skin. His hands scorched by the sword's power. Stabbing the ground the same way did not trigger anything, he thought, pulling out a potion with his free hand. Let me think this through. Perhaps there is a message hidden. But before he could finish the thought, the air around him shifted, a flicker, then silence. The assassin appeared from the shadows, his eyes glowing crimson with bloodlust. Without a word, he lunged, his blade cutting through the air with a murderous whistle. Yet, as the blade sliced through the space where Theo had stood, it meant nothing. The assassin's eyes widened. What? Before he could recover, pain exploded in his gut. Theo had reappeared behind him, his boot driving hard into his ribs. The impact sent the assassin flying backward, his body twisting midair before crashing into the stone surface with a crack. He coughed blood, clutching his side, shock flashing across his face. How did he get behind me? The assassin jammed his blade into the ground to keep himself steady, breathing ragged. The first assassin, Gray, snarled, his gaze locked on Theo. Theo, still holding the potion, wiped blood from his mouth and hissed. He is strong. Do not rush him carelessly, he said with a slow mocking grin. 3 against 1, he added softly. That was fair. Outside the walls of the Cream Hill statue, the night's calm shattered. A deafening crack split the silence, echoing through the watchtowers. The guards flinched, weapons drawn. Did you hear that? One shouted. It sounded like something had broken. Another soldier pointed upward, voice trembling. Look, the Colossus of Cream Hill. All eyes turned towards the mountain-sized monument, and what they saw froze them in disbelief. Massive chunks of stone peeled away from its body, cascading downward like meteors. Outside the castle, the allies were waiting when the old man wondered what on earth is taking their people this long. That's when a hot woman comes out telling Antonio that something big has happened. The Grey brother that entered with them has started attacking their ghost. He thinks to himself that the servant of Trovians have infiltrated very deep inside. Inside, Theo is easily handling them, as he gets pushed back by the sheer number. Looking at their battle style, Theo realizes that these rats stalling, because even when given an opening they are stalling for time. They've taken control of Haywan District 3, planning to quietly wait for reinforcements. But Theo, unlike them, is not stupid. He throws a strike on the ground, and a box comes out of the rubble. Seeing it, the rats understand what he is trying to do and stop him. But Theo, without any worries, rushed towards it, thinking that he was overcomplicating things for no reason. Another system notification flickered before his eyes. Subquest: Dragon Slayer Sword. Bamong wishes to return to its original resting place. Objective: find its location, defeat the Guardian, and obtain the right of ownership. Theo's thoughts snapped together. It wants to return. The sword's reacting strongest here. That means this is the original place. And with a single decisive motion, he drove it straight into the heart of the relic. The resting place, Theo shouted, his voice echoing across the broken chamber. It can only be here. The moment the blade struck, the ground convulsed, like a tidal wave of light, shaking the colossal statue to its core. Outside, the guards along the walls of Cream Hill turned sharply as a deafening crack tore through the night. One shouted, something just broke. Then came the cry that froze every man in place. Look, the Colossus. Look at the Colossus of Cream Hill. All eyes turned upward, and horror washed over the fortress. The enormous statue, once the pride of the archipelago, began to crumble. Theo's body twitched as he slowly regained consciousness. His vision blurry and his head pounding like waves crashing against stone. The battlefield was gone. No relic, no statue, no ruins. Around him stretched a dense forest, mist crawling between the trees and ancient roots twisting through the earth. This must be inside the relic dungeon. A familiar voice echoed beside him, light and teasing. So, this is the creature's lair. Theo turned his head and found his mana beast standing before him, miniature versions of their true forms. Theo raised an eyebrow. You lot, what's with those grotesque forms? The fairy dragon sighed, crossing its tiny arms. We manifested directly using your mana as the medium. Your lack of magical power makes us look ridiculous. It said with dry disdain, but it cannot be helped for a relic guardian to harbor such deep longing and pity for a human. It's no small thing. Theo's eyes widened. A human? Wait, could that human be Kriemhild? The griffin shook its head. We don't know for certain, it said gravely. We merely read the remnants of its thoughts. Theo paused, thinking, judging by the context, that's probably right, he said quietly. Then he looked around, scanning the fog-covered woods. Since there's no relic guardian left, let's explore slowly. A sudden sound sliced through the air. Theo's instinct screamed. He ducked just in time, the arrow whistling past his ear. His eyes narrowed as he turned his gaze toward the direction it came from. Perched high among the branches, a skeletal archer drew another arrow, its hollow eyes glowing. An ownerless house, they said. Theo muttered, voice darkening. Then explain this. He turned sharply and saw more movement. From behind the trees, skeletal soldiers began to crawl out, their bones creaking and weapons clutched tight. They climbed over roots, branches, rocks, dozens of them, then hundreds. For Kriemhild, they roared, voices overlapping like thunder. We will eliminate the intruder. The griffin's feathers bristled. So that's how it is, he muttered. To think it went this far, protecting the ownership of a relic for a human named Kriemhild. An arrow suddenly shot toward them. Theo raised his hand and caught it midair with sharp precision, spinning it around before flicking it back like a dart. The arrow flew past the griffin and pierced straight through the skull of a charging skeleton, shattering it into dust. Theo exhaled slowly, his expression hard. There are a lot of them, he said, but nothing special. I'll just have to cut through them. Simple enough. The fairy dragon floated closer, shaking its head. It won't be as easy as you think. Theo frowned. What do you mean? Look closely, the fairy dragon said gravely, gesturing toward the fallen skeleton. Theo's eyes followed and froze. The skeleton, whose skull had shattered moments ago, was moving, its fingers twitched, bones cracking into place as it slowly picked up its sword again. They're not ordinary soldiers, the fairy dragon said. They're undying warriors, the dragon fangs. The reanimated soldier let out a bone-rattling roar. Eliminate the intruder, it bellowed. And like a tide, the others followed suit, charging toward Theo, blades raised, their hollow eyes burning with vengeful light. Theo's eyes widened as he watched the shattered skeletons begin to piece themselves back together. But then that familiar grin returned, sharp and daring, as he muttered with a hint of excitement, yeah, definitely not going to be easy. Without hesitation, the skeletal soldiers descended from every direction, leaping off branches, crawling across bark, their rusted weapons gleaming under the dim, eerie light. Each strike clean, deliberate, and fatal. The clang of steel meeting bone echoed through the forest as skulls shattered and ribs splintered. But for every soldier he struck down, two more replaced it. The griffin hovered nearby, wings flaring as it snapped its beak in irritation. We cannot keep fighting this endless battle forever. Theo parried another sword, sparks bursting as he replied between breaths. You got a better idea? The griffin's golden eyes narrowed. I'll give you a piece of advice for that thick skull of yours. That Kriemhild fellow, you said he was a human like you. Yes. Then tell him to surrender his ownership. It's that simple. He's a legendary hero, he shouted. If he's still alive after all this, can you even call him human anymore, you idiot? The griffin ruffled its feathers, glaring at him. Insolent mortal. Giving advice to an idiot is pointless. It muttered exasperated. Theo grabbed the griffin's beak midair, glaring back. You want to say that again? You overgrown before he could finish. A blue holographic shimmer flashed before his eyes. System notification. This dungeon is the final gift left behind by Leviathan for Kriemhild. Retrieve the ownership of the gift from Kriemhild. Theo's expression froze. Retrieve the ownership of the gift, he thought. Wait, so the griffin bastard might actually be right? But before he could piece it together, the skeletal soldiers struck again, charging in from every direction like a tide of death. In an instant, he leapt into the air. With a swift motion, he extended his hand, summoning multiple swords through telekinesis. They burst into existence beside him, gleaming and suspended in the air. Theo used them as stepping stones, darting upward with blinding speed, grabbing onto a thick, hanging branch above the chaos. Below, hundreds of skeletal soldiers clawed their way up the trees, their hollow eyes glowing red as they shrieked. Eliminate the intruder. Theo hung from the branch, scanning the swarm beneath him. This can't just be endless resurrection, he muttered. Then, closing his eyes, he activated his skill. Hatchling synchronization. Mind Gate, a sharp hum pulsed through his body. He could feel the skeletal army's movement, their auras, a web of restless energy that pulsed all around him. Among the swarm, one skeletal soldier stood out. Its aura burned crimson, unlike the dull blue of the others. The energy felt wrong, stronger, older. Theo's lips curled into a confident grin. Found you. Without wasting another second, he sprang off the branch, swords appearing beneath his feet like stepping stones of light as he darted through the air toward the red aura soldier. When they all rushed me before, Theo thought, there was one who turned and ran. I should have known then. The skeletal soldier's head snapped up as Theo closed in. Intruder! It rasped, panic flickering in its hollow sockets. Theo raised his sword, its edge sparking with black lightning. Too late, he whispered. Lightning dragon flash technique, lightning needle. Bolts of black lightning erupted from his blade, raining down in jagged streaks. They tore through the air, striking the ground and the skeletal soldiers simultaneously. A deafening explosion followed, engulfing the area in blinding light. Theo somersaulted midair, slicing through two more skeletal soldiers lunging at him before landing on another branch. A system chime echoed in his mind. System notification, collected Kriemhild's remains. Gather the rest of the remains to finally meet Kriemhild. Theo's breath steadied as he looked down at the devastation. Theo glanced down at his right hand and froze. His palm was glowing with a deep, pulsating red light. Slowly, he uncurled his fingers, revealing a small bone fragment nestled in his palm, smooth, ancient, and seething with power. Another notification flickered before his eyes. System notification item acquired. Kriemhild's third cervical bone. His grin widened, the thrill of discovery glinting in his eyes. The scene shifted far from the dungeon's depths to the floating archipelago's port, now shrouded in a relentless storm. Sheets of rain hammered against the wooden docks. The night split apart by flashes of lightning. Workers scurried about, loading heavy crates onto ships anchored in the harbor. Amid the chaos, one of them spotted a lone figure walking toward the shipyard. A man cloaked in black, his steps measured and unhurried. You're late to port, the dockmaster called out, raising his voice above the storm as he approached. Did something happen? The cloaked figure paused briefly under the dim lantern light. His face was obscured by the hood and his voice came out low and cold. Nothing worth mentioning. He brushed past the dockmaster, boots echoing on the wet planks. The dockmaster frowned at the strange response. Confusion etched across his face. Still, he muttered, trying to lighten the tension. The falls make things easier, pilot, but the figure gave no reply. Only a faint hum that sent unease down the man's spine. The pilot gritted his teeth, glaring slightly as he followed him up the gangplank. What's that supposed to mean? He whispered to his crewmate as they climbed aboard the ship. What is going on here? The pilot stammered, eyes widening. Bodies everywhere, the passengers, sailors, guards, even the merchants, all lay motionless, their eyes blank and faces pale. One of the younger crewmen dropped to his knees, trembling. What the hell? He whispered, voice breaking. The passengers. They're all dead. The cloaked figure walked past them, utterly unfazed, his tone smooth and cruel. Those foolish floating island troops, he said softly. The dragon-slaying sword rolled right to their feet, and they still managed to let it slip away. He reached beneath his cloak and retrieved a mask, metallic, black, and marked with a crimson insignia shaped like a serpent's eye. The stormlight reflected off its surface as he slid it over his face, concealing his features. "It doesn't matter who holds it," he continued, tightening the mask strap behind his head. His voice deepened, reverberating with menace. "After all, the floating island itself," he said, his tone laced with cold satisfaction, "is already in our hands. The ninth Lord of Trovan." As heavy rain pours down on the floating archipelago, the residents are shocked to witness the unfolding scene. Dark clouds swirl above like a furious beast, and thunder rumbles across the sky, echoing against the cliffs. Heavy raindrops shatter against rooftops, flooding the pathways. People clutch onto one another. Before their eyes, the 100-year-old guardian colossus of the archipelago, the ancient protector that stood for generations like a silent deity carved from stone, is collapsing. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the relic's trial. Deep within the mystical chamber, Theo battles the skeleton dragon knights. A system message appears before Theo, shining in brilliant blue letters, informing him that he has recovered all of Creamhill's remains. Immediately, another system message pops up, asking Theo if he would like to check Creamhill's memories engraved in the remains. Theo doesn't hesitate, even for a heartbeat. Of course, he selects yes. There's no reason to refuse, he thinks. His mind fills with curiosity. What did the hero of myth truly look like? What kind of person was she? The system glows faintly. Now playing Creamhill's memories engraved in the remains inside Creamhill's memories. Everything feels warm and nostalgic. The wind is gentle, the sunlight soft. There is a little girl running towards someone with a basket in her hand, calling loudly the name Levi. Her footsteps echo against the rocks as she reaches a cave by the seaside. Shouting that she is here, she enters the cave with excitement shining in her young eyes. Inside the cave lies a magnificent dragon slayer sword embedded in stone, glowing faintly. Calling the name Levi again and touching the sword with her finger, the little girl cheerfully tells the guardian to wake up. Slowly, the sword begins to glow brighter, and in a dramatic sight, the relic's guardian appears, the mighty Leviathan. But the guardian is angry. His deep voice shakes the cave walls. Addressing the little girl as young human, he shouts, asking how many times he must say it before she understands that he is Leviathan, guardian of the primordial dragon's relic. She isn't even Ragnar, so how dare she call him by that nickname? His massive form looms over her, scales shimmering with ancient power, his eyes burning with irritation. Yet the little girl, holding up the bread basket with a warm smile, tells Leviathan that his full name is too hard to say. She will just call him Levi. Her innocence disarms him. Realizing it's futile to argue with her, Levi calms down, sighing, and says she can call him whatever she wants. Talking to a foolish human like her will only tire his mouth. Seeing it's bread again, Levi frowns and asks why the innkeeper keeps giving her bread all the time. The little girl giggles and tells Levi that something really fun happened today. While chewing the bread, Levi frowns again, mumbling that there she goes again. And then the little girl continues her rambling happily, talking and talking, sharing her daily stories, her little joys and frustrations. Time passes like that. Days blend into years. She grows from a little girl into a young woman, still coming to Levi with a basket of bread, still rambling endlessly about her life. And Levi, although he complains, silently listens every time. On a moonlight night inside the same cave, Levi waits for the girl to show up. The waves outside glow silver under the moonlight, and the wind hums a quiet tune. Leviathan's massive form rests against the stone wall, pretending to be uninterested. But in truth, he is waiting, expecting her footsteps, her stories, her bright presence. Suddenly, he hears sounds outside the cave. Footsteps, rough, unfamiliar. He appears quickly, acting arrogant like always, and saying that he told her not to come again and again, but she just doesn't listen. Levi asks what happened today, but then he notices blood drops on the ground. His eyes widen. The girl, injured and bleeding, comes running toward Leviathan, asking for his help. She cries that strange men suddenly barged into the town and started hurting people. Her voice shakes. Before she can finish, someone grabs her hair from behind. An imperial soldier yanks her back, calling her a foolish wench. He mocks her and tells her the mighty emperor is extending his care to these rural waters and she should be grateful. At the same time, he gets to have some fun, too. Leviathan's fury erupts like a volcanic explosion. In anger, Levi calls out for Kriemhild. His roar shakes the cave. As his rage boils, he destroys the entire cave. Rocks shatter, waves rise violently, and fire burns everything across the floating archipelago. The Imperial soldiers continue burning the natives, killing, pillaging, destroying everything in their path. Suddenly, the soldiers hear a terrifying commotion. Bones crack, stone breaks, wind screams, they turn and freeze. All the Imperial soldiers get cut down like tofu. Chaos erupts among the soldiers as Leviathan tears through them. While one soldier tries to run away, he looks back and sees something unimaginable. Kriemhild is sitting on Leviathan's back holding the dragon-slaying sword. The soldier cannot believe some wench is riding a monster. She must be the one controlling it, he thinks in panic. He shouts to his comrades to kill the woman first. As Levi finishes off the invaders and the chaos settles, Kriemhild bows down and apologizes to him. She trembles, crying. She says he was supposed to wait for the chosen one, but because of her, he had to do this. She shakes in guilt, gripping the sword tightly. Levi tells her not to weep so sorrowfully. He asks if everything turned out well in the end, didn't it? Kriemhild tries to argue, but Levi encloses her within a protective bubble of magic, telling her she doesn't have to be sorry. The natives, seeing their savior, begin cheering her. They shout her name with joy. As Levi sets Kriemhild down, the people recognize her. It really was her who brought the sea dragon. Their joy spreads like wildfire. Their cheers echo into the sky. Levi then tells Kriemhild that she was right. He may have abandoned his duty, but somehow he feels at peace. By his will, not the primordial dragon's. By doing it, he could protect her smile. When the news reaches the emperor, he is furious. The great imperial army defeated by a barbarian girl who controls a sea dragon. Unacceptable. He realizes he was complacent about the remote area. He orders his royal guard to reclaim his land swiftly. The royal guards arrive, brutal and merciless. They take the natives hostage and corner Leviathan. The commander of the royal guards, intrigued, observes Leviathan, a creature that just won't die. He asks Kriemhild mockingly, if she is his master, she must know how to kill him, right? Levi tells Kriemhild that it is all right. He is a guardian. He won't die. He will go into a deep slumber. With the magic left inside the relic, when he comes out, she will surely be able to put him to sleep. But as the commander orders the natives to be executed, Levi realizes the situation is hopeless. He whispers to Kriemhild that they weren't granted much time together. Kriemhild is devastated. She cannot do it. Levi forces her. She begs him not to make her seal him. With a heavy heart, Levi tells her that perhaps their fate was destined the moment he broke the rules. She should not feel guilty for protecting her people. He will help her one last time. He smiles and says in a soft tone that he had fun. Those words break her completely. In a final act of sorrow and courage, Kriemhild seals Leviathan. The commander laughs loudly, but his laughter turns to horror as a massive tsunami rises. The wave engulfs only the Imperial soldiers, sparing the natives completely. With this, Leviathan fulfills his final promise to Kriemhild. Theo watches the memories with trembling hands. His chest tightens. He realizes Kriemhild was never the fairy tale hero people described. She was simply an unfortunate girl who wanted to be friends with a guardian. As the memories end, Kriemhild appears before him holding the Dragon Slayer sword. She tells Theo that he is the chosen one Levi waited for. She becomes emotional, saying that because of her, Levi couldn't fulfill his duty. That must have pained him deeply. Presenting the sword to Theo, she asks him to make Levi happy. Theo holds the sword gently and says he doesn't think he needs to do that. Kriemhild looks confused. In a warm voice, Theo says, this guy Levi already looked happy enough to him. Kriemhild pauses, surprised, and then understanding washes over her. Tears of happiness appear in her eyes. Back in the real world, the natives of the floating archipelago arrive at the collapsed colossus. Soldiers try to stop them, warning of further collapse risk. But people notice someone in the ruins. All gasp in shock when they see Theo holding the dragon-slaying sword, and they all begin to cheer. Creamhill has appeared and their hope reignites. The chapter opens in the underground meeting hall of the floating archipelago, where a tense gathering is taking place. Noel, the ninth servant of Troyvin, arrives with a relaxed demeanor that immediately aggravates his co-conspirators. The heads of the three major shipping clans are anxious because their plans are facing a significant disruption. The source of their anxiety is the foreigner, Theo, whom the public currently believes to be the legendary hero Kriemhild. The clan heads demand to know why the dragon-slaying sword, which was supposed to be secured in Troyvin, is now in the hands of this outsider. They report that because of Theo's actions, the residents of the archipelago have gathered around him, and there is a real danger that the power of the three clans will fall entirely into his hands. The clan heads remind Noel of their agreement. They handed over the dragon-slaying sword to Troyvin in exchange for the preservation of their positions and authority, and they view the current situation as a breach of that contract. Noel, however, is dismissive. He calls their complaints about the uprising a trivial matter and, when pressed, reveals his true feelings. He sees the shipping clans not as partners, but as insects he could crush whenever he chooses. He mocks them as traitors willing to sell out their own country for personal gain. When one of the clan heads asks whether he truly intends to entrust the recovery of the sword to their forces rather than retrieving it himself, Noel explains that he would prefer to act personally but cannot. He reveals the real reason he is staying back. One of Ragnar's 9 dragons, the hegemony dragon, has arrived on the archipelago. Since this powerful threat is present, Noel must prioritize restraining him first, leaving the task of dealing with Theo and the crowd to the shipping clans. Theo stood amid a massive, desperate crowd of archipelago residents, all gathering around him because he held the dragon-slaying sword. The Kriemhild Noel worships as a deity had been nothing more than a kind, ordinary girl he knew. To them, he was the reincarnation of the legendary hero Kriemhild. Terrified by the looming collapse of the floating archipelago caused by Troyvin's schemes, they begged him to save them. Their voices rose again and again, "Please save the floating archipelago." Realizing he needed to move their hearts, Theo stepped forward and addressed the masses with the authority of a savior. His voice boomed across the plaza as he declared, "People of the floating archipelago, I will save this archipelago. I will absolutely bring salvation." His words ignited the crowd, cementing him as the beacon of hope they desperately needed. As the cheers echoed, a figure emerged from the temple, Priest Marty, the overseer of the Kriemhild temple. Approaching Theo, he said, "I've been waiting, Kriemhild." Marty led Theo away from the crowd and into the Kriemhild temple. As they walked through the temple halls, she explained that her family had maintained the place for generations, faithfully believing in the prophecy that the hero would one day return. She brought him to a pedestal displaying a softly glowing object. Theo asked, "This is," and Marty explained that it was the necklace worn by the original Kriemhild, known as Kriemhild's Pearl. The magical accessory served as the key to reaching the deep-sea dragon by allowing its bearer to move freely underwater. As Theo took the pearl, he paused and confronted Marty, asking if she truly trusted him. Marty bowed and dropped her formal tone, addressing him as Lord Ragnar. Surprised, Theo demanded to know how she recognized him. Marty explained that the dragon-slaying sword was an artifact of the primeval dragon, and naturally, only someone of Ragnar's bloodline could awaken it. She admitted that although she wished she could fight alongside him, she could not, because she needed to focus on the looming threat of the hegemony dragon. Marty then guided Theo to a massive staircase descending toward the water, instructing him that throwing the necklace into the sea would open the gate leading to the deep-sea dragon. At the same time, Noel and the shipping clans made their move, broadcasting a message to the public branding Theo as a terrorist falsely claiming to be the hero Kriemhild, and ordering soldiers to eliminate anyone who supported him. Ignoring the chaos erupting behind him, Theo stood at the water's edge. "Is this the place?" he murmured before throwing Kriemhild's pearl into the ocean. The water reacted instantly, swirling into a massive, glowing vortex. Theo dove straight in. As he sank into the pitch-black depths, the pearl's magic activated, granting him the ability to breathe underwater. In the darkness, a colossal eye opened, and Theo found himself face-to-face with the terrifying sea serpent, the guardian of the deep sea. The chapter opens not with Theo, but with a violent confrontation taking place at a temple or sanctuary. The turd issues a ruthless order that not a single person is to be allowed to escape. The attackers are from the three maritime families, and their motives are being questioned by some present, who doubt the truth of a terrorist story being used to justify the assault. A group of defenders, including Priestess Marty and others, try to resist the aggression. She swears on the name of the temple that Theo is where he should be. They accuse the attackers of using excessive force. The leader of the attacking force, a man named Spinola, is defiant. The defenders are shocked to learn that the invaders are from the group Troivan, who are accused of stealing the powerful Dragon Slayer sword. The defenders connect this to an earlier ambush on the three maritime families, realizing Troivan orchestrated the theft. The confrontation escalates when one of the defenders identifies a black-haired individual elsewhere as the reincarnation of the legendary figure Kriemhild. This revelation intensifies the conflict, as Spinola's goal is now revealed, to capture Kriemhild's reincarnation and hand him over to Troivan. The defenders, including a character named Groen, vow to protect him, shouting that they will protect Kriemhild this time. A fierce battle erupts between Spinola's Tronen mercenary squad and the temple defenders. Spinola is urged by his subordinate, Romlin, to retreat and consider the reputational damage and backlash. Spinola dismisses this, revealing their desperate situation. Having betrayed the archipelago, their only choice is to become Troivan's dogs. He orders his men to take out anyone in their way. The battle is chaotic, with the defenders struggling and acknowledging they are inferior and cannot hold for long. A new character arrives and confronts Spinola, calling him father. This individual chastises Spinola for giving up his heir position to make such a pathetic choice, accusing him of betraying his country and killing innocent civilians. This new arrival then mobilizes a group called the Black Skull members, ordering them to subdue Spinola's cruel men and protect the people. Meanwhile, the scene shifts entirely to Theo. Observing a massive gathering of sea serpents. He is perplexed by their numbers and their behavior, as they are not attacking him but are silently watching him. He deduces that their behavior is linked to the Dragon Slayer sword he possesses, which contains the energy of the legendary sea dragon, Leviathan. The sea serpents are drawn to this energy and are passive because Theo, as the sword's wielder, carries the same energy. A supernatural ability, Wyvern Taming, activates, and Theo begins to form a psychic bond with one of the sea serpents. The process is familiar to him, similar to when he tamed a creature named Umbra. The sea serpent's emotions, curiosity, fear, and awe flow into him through a power called Dragon Heart. The sea serpent formally recognizes him as its master, and a message confirms the taming is in progress. Now in sync with the creature, Theo understands the situation completely. He knows Leviathan's energy drew the serpents to him. He communicates with a small companion, possibly the one observing him, and commands the tamed sea serpent to take him to Leviathan. He mounts the sea serpent and they dive deeper into the ocean. As they descend, he notes that the mana in the water is distorted and chaotic, making the currents stronger, which he takes as a sign they are getting closer to their goal. Another ability, Hatchling Synchro, activates, enhancing his connection for the journey. They eventually find Leviathan. The colossal dragon has sunk to a profound depth, and its sheer magical power is immense. However, Theo immediately senses that something is terribly wrong. The mana feels corrupted and alien, completely different from the impressions he has inherited from Kriemhild's memories. His dragon companion also perceives this danger and mentally communicates its alarm, surprised that Theo, who carries Leviathan's energy, is not already aware of the threat. Theo is confused, questioning what specific energy they mean. He then has a horrifying realization. The strange, malevolent energy saturating the area is Demon Shadow Toxin. The chapter ends with this catastrophic revelation. It is confirmed that Leviathan has been completely corrupted and poisoned, losing all its reason and sanity because of the Demon Shadow. This concludes the chapter. Make sure to like and subscribe for another part.